The Red Sox are shoring things up before tomorrow. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. Ladies and gentlemen, in 24 hours, the Red Sox start playing meaningful games, and they don't stop playing meaningful games until October. The Red Sox baseball season is basically officially here. Just a reminder, we are going to be live tomorrow, basically all day right here on this channel. Members only starts at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Regular public live stream starts around 3:30, and we're going to be live streaming the entire game together, so make sure you guys are there. But before we get there, we got to talk about where the Red Sox finalizing their roster decisions are ending up and what it means for this Red Sox team, starting with the Red Sox bullpen, because they did make a couple of pretty big decisions there. Officially or unofficially, I don't really know where to place this. The Red Sox have named Aroldis Chapman as the closer for the Boston Red Sox. Not entirely a surprise, right? This is something that had been coming for a pretty long period of time. It's just sort of finalized recently. And the reason I put those in air quotes is because Aroldis Chapman's the closer of the Red Sox, but he's not really the closer of the Red Sox. It's a really interesting situation. Alex Cora, according to Ian Brown of MLB.com, he reported that while the Red Sox did name Chapman the closer, Alex Cora is said to be leaving a lot of wiggle room on that title depending on leverage. He used the example of if Corey Seager is coming up in a pivotal 8th inning tomorrow, he will use Chapman and go to someone else in the 9th inning. I don't really know how to feel about this. I think Chapman straight out deserved the closing role from what he did this spring training for the Red Sox. It kind of sounds like they're going closer by committee by not actually going closer by committee, right? Aroldis Chapman to start the year is going to get a majority of the saves, but he's also not going to get a majority of the saves. It's a really, really interesting way of putting it. It kind of sounds like closer by committee, doesn't it? I don't know. I don't love this idea. You guys know my stance on closer by committee. I think it has gone and failed with the Red Sox. Now, it's a different situation this year because they do have at least 3 legitimate closing options to start the season out, right? It's not like you're going Matt Barnes, Josh Taylor, or Ryan Brazier like they did in 2022. You're going Chapman, Hendricks, or Slayton, but still, right, having those defined roles in the bullpen really does tend to help with pitching mentalities and stuff like that. It sounds like a lot of different people are going to get closing opportunities this year, and it's part of that fluidity we talked in the bullpen, where there's never going to be really a set bullpen for the Red Sox. Things are going to be kind of ever-changing in that bullpen in hopes to hopefully prevent some of the wear out that we saw over the second half last year. If it works out, it's going to look really good. If it doesn't, it's going to look really, really dumb, and it's a big risk the Red Sox are going to end up taking here. I really hope that at the end of the day, someone does sort of cement themselves as the closer of the Boston Red Sox. What this kind of feels like to me is that the Red Sox sat there and said, boy, we really want Liam Hendricks to be the closer of this team. We just simply can't say that right now, right? He had a really, really tough spring training. Coming into the season, naming him as the closer is putting a ton of risk in that closing role. Chapman looked really good. We're going to put him there for now in hopes that Liam Hendricks sort of regains himself and is able to take over that role pretty quickly into the season. That's kind of what it feels like, doesn't it? As they're going with Chapman, who's going to probably get a majority of saves to start the year, but boy... right, I think they wanted Liam Hendricks to make that work. I don't know why they aren't truly looking at Slayton or Whitlock for this role. I think both of them looked much better this spring training than Liam Hendricks did, but I think they're both in the running still. I sit here with this closer by committee thing, and it really, really scares me. We'll see how this works out, right? I think that's the only thing we can do at this point is wait and see. Again, it is a bit of a different situation than the last time the Red Sox did closer by committee, but it just simply still scares the hell out of me, especially when it comes to pitching mentalities in that bullpen. If a guy knows he's going to be closing, he has a different mentality than sitting in the bullpen and trying to figure out when he's getting into a game. I just think it totally changes this outlook of the bullpen. But either way, Aroldis Chapman named the closer of the Boston Red Sox, at least coming into 2025. We'll see how long he holds that title. As for the other moves, finalizing this bullpen up, Zach Kelly and Greg Weiser were both informed that they are going to be with this team in Arlington tomorrow. Not entirely a surprise here. They were heavily favored to make it going down to Mexico, but this is the official announcement. If you look at Weiser this spring training, just statistically, you may sit there and say, well, wait a second, why is Greg Weiser in the Red Sox bullpen, right? Those overlining statistics, they don't look very good. But if you dive a little bit deeper, starts to make a whole lot more sense because he had 8 scores scoreless innings this spring and only won 2/3 of an inning where he gave up 6 runs. That's it, right? That's where all his earned runs came. It came in against the Baltimore Orioles this spring. Outside of that, he was absolutely dominant. He absolutely deserved this spot in the Red Sox bullpen. Even going back to last season, the overall numbers were really solid for Greg Weissert. I think we all kind of didn't really see what Greg Weissert did because he had that bad stretch and then ended up in AAA for a little bit. But since coming back from AAA, he ended the season with 17 straight games without an earned run. He was a real asset last year, and I think he'll continue to be an asset this year as well, even despite sort of that rocky middle area of this season last year, which I think in large part was due to just simply being overused. Greg Weissert had never spent a full season in Major League Baseball before, and all of a sudden he's throwing, 57, 60 innings for the Red Sox. Even overall, though, with that sort of dip through the season, he still finished with a 3.13 ERA, a 3.72 FIP, and a 1.37 ERA plus, 37% above league average. I have absolutely no problem with the Red Sox putting Greg Weissert into this bullpen. I do think genuinely it's the right move, right? You take away that 2/3 of an inning for Greg Weissert this spring, and he had 8 innings of scoreless baseball where he had at least 1 strikeout in those innings. I think he's going to be a real asset to the Red Sox, not really in that super high leverage role, but that like 6th, 7th inning type role that, hey, we're up 2 runs. We need to get to our closers, to our high leverage guys. Let's bring in Greg Weissert. I like him in that role. I think the Red Sox made the right move here. Where Greg Weisert's back of the baseball card this spring training didn't look super fantastic, Zach Kelly, I think, flat out earned his role in the Red Sox bullpen to start this year based on what he did this spring training. Overall, the performance was a 2.35 ERA in 7 2/3 innings with 8 strikeouts and, more importantly, only 1 walk. And the only runs he allowed was in his second appearance of the spring back at the end of February. 2 earned in 2 2/3 of an inning. The stuff looked great. The command was excellent. And since that outing, he had 6 scoreless innings. I'm a big fan of Zach Kelly. I think you guys know that, right? I have one of his jerseys, which I don't know a lot of people have a lot of Zach Kelly jerseys, but either way, he had some great moments last year, and I really think this year he's going to put it all together. Last year was a bit of a roller coaster overall with Zach Kelly. The ERA in general wasn't terrible. It was a 3.97 ERA out of the pen with a much higher 4.84 FIP, but a 1.08 ERA plus. So he still managed to be a bit of an above average reliever, but I do really think the talent is there for him to be a dominant reliever. And the reason I think this is because of the underlying metrics. If you take a look at his Baseball Savant page, there are a couple things that really stand out here. He's towards the top of the league in preventing hard contact, and he was above average at getting swing and miss at the plate. Really, the biggest thing that stands out on Zach Kelly's page in a negative light was his command. He was walking a ton of people. If he can bring that down, he could be a really solid reliever for the Red Sox. And this spring, again, you go back to why I emphasized the fact that he only had 1 walk. If his command is where it needs to be coming into this season, we're talking about a legitimate weapon in the Red Sox bullpen, potentially even developing into one of those late inning guys if they need that, right? His underlying metrics are fantastic. It was all about getting a control over the strike zone. And if spring training is any indication of what a player can do, it's absolutely fantastic to see Zach Kelly get that ability to hit the strike zone and hit it a whole lot of times over this past spring. These stats effectively mean nothing come tomorrow, but we're talking about why Zach Kelly ended up in the bullpen. This could be exactly it. I also think if we're trying to figure out reasoning why these guys made the bullpen over some other options this spring outside of what they did on the mound, one of the bigger things, in my opinion, is the fact that both of these guys have minor league options. Again, you go back to the Red Sox really emphasizing flexibility and fluidity in this bullpen to start the year off. This allows them a ton of flexibility. If most of the guys in this bullpen, outside of Hendricks and Chapman, have, and I think Whitlock as well, have options that allow them to kind of move up and down the minor league system here, it allows the Red Sox a whole lot of room to wiggle with this season. Say Zach Kelly ends up coming out of the gate really strong. Okay, great. He cemented himself a spot in the bullpen, but let's say Greg Weissert comes in here and he just simply can't find the strike zone, or he just simply can't find a way to miss bats for the first 3 or 4 appearances of the season. Well, you can option him down to AAA, and you could bring up a Brian Mata, a Matt Moore, Luis Guerrero, 1,000 other names that are sitting in the Red Sox bullpen right now that could be utilized instead of these guys to try and get himself right. And then you could bring him back up and everything could be fantastic yet again, right? And I think that's a big reason why the Red Sox are really emphasizing that fluidity this season. They're really, really trying to ensure that what happened in the second half last year doesn't happen this year. And again, this is kind of a risk, right? Not having set positions in the bullpen could end up being a bit of a risky thing, but we've seen it play out and work well with other teams. Look at the Tampa Bay Rays, right? I don't think they had any relievers not spend time in AAA last year or even the last few years, and they've been dominant in Major League Baseball while doing exactly this. So it's an interesting philosophy, and we'll see how it works out, but both of those guys are in the Red Sox bullpen to start the year this year. There were a couple of final things I wanted to talk about in this video. The first one being kind of interesting to me. Marcelo Meyer, we know is going to be starting in AAA. Christian Campbell, we know is going to be starting in MLB. We don't have confirmation as to where Roman Anthony's starting the season yet. The overwhelming theory is that he's going to be starting in AAA, but we're 24 hours away from the Red Sox opening up their season. And there's been no official announcement yet. I think ultimately it will be AAA, but it's really starting to perk my attention a little bit that we've heard nothing about where Roman Anthony's starting the season this year. I'm starting to get real interested, right? If Wilyer Abreu isn't 100%, maybe they sit there and they say, this could be an opportunity for Roman Anthony to break camp with the Boston Red Sox. I don't know. I'm just sort of theorizing here. It's just something that stood out to me with all these sort of roster finalizations that Roman Anthony's name isn't a part of it. We also don't have confirmation as to what the bench is going to look like. So a couple of things to pay attention to on the position player side of things. If anything breaks that's pretty big, like a Roman Anthony starting in Major League Baseball, we'll definitely make an emergency video about it. If not, I'll probably summarize the final Red Sox roster cuts tomorrow before opening day. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that the Red Sox did essentially finalize their rotation. Alex Cora pretty much confirming that Sean Newcomb is going to be the fifth starter for the Red Sox, saying exactly that it's likely that he's going to be the fifth starter. That essentially means he's going to be. I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's just a really cool story, right? Not only is it a hometown guy coming in and sort of revamping his career a bit with the Red Sox this spring, but he flat out deserved it. He absolutely put on a show this spring training. He saw an opportunity to get himself on the big league roster, and he took full advantage of it. And I'm really, really excited to see what he can do in the back end of this rotation. Now, I'm not expecting him to be, lights out. What did he have? Like a 1.37 ERA this spring. I'm not expecting that from him, right? I'm expecting sort of a 5 and dive, 3.50, 4.50 ERA type guy. But if he can keep the team afloat until Giolito and Bayo get healthy, that's a really, really important role. So I'm excited to see what he can do with it. The only real position left in terms of pitching in general that's still up for grabs here is that final spot in the bullpen. It's either Brennan Bernardino or Cooper Criswell. I don't know which way the Red Sox go. Both of these could end up being beneficial in different ways. Cooper Criswell could come in and be that sort of long reliever, maybe help out with Fitz and Newcomb in the back end, who are most likely going to be 5 and dive type guys. But on the other hand, if you bring in out Brennan Bernardino and have him start the Major League level, you could keep Cooper Criswell stretched out as an emergency depth starter in AAA, which is also really important, and it allows you some wiggle room with Sean Newcomb. You could put Sean Newcomb into that Brennan Bernardino role once Giolito and Bayo are back and still keep that sort of ratio of lefties to righties in the bullpen. I don't know. My gut is kind of going with Brennan Bernardino to start the year. He's looked really, really good this spring training, so we'll see kind of where that ends up. Again, that's another one that I don't know that we'll make a video on in terms of breaking news, but we'll definitely talk about tomorrow as they finalize the roster. But overall, a ton of finalization taking place for the Red Sox. They really waited until the very last minute to get some of these done, and we still don't have a full picture of what the Red Sox roster is going to look like. So until that happens, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about these? What do you think about the Chapman sort of not being the official closer to the Red Sox? What do you think about the bullpen additions? And what do you think about the fact that Roman Anthony's still out there? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.